It's time again for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the show covering fishing, hunting, and all sorts of outdoor recreation and destinations right here in the region you live and play in. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, makers of the world-famous wedding ring spinner, by Loophole, America's Optics Authority, and by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. Northwestern Outdoors is also sponsored by Wallowa County in Northeast Oregon, where you'll find both nature and fun. By Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing, offering you the affordable Canadian fishing trip of a lifetime. And by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. So grab your fishing rod or hunting gear, load up the boat or lace up your boots, and let's head outdoors with your host, John Cruz.
Welcome to the show. We're glad to have you here as we kick off this new year. A new year, by the way, that has a whole bunch of sportsman shows taking place around the Northwest. Here's a few of them you might be interested in attending during the month of January. The Western Idaho Fly Fishing Expo is taking place at Expo Idaho in Garden City near Boise, the 13th and 14th, and January 20th through the 22nd. About 10 days later than usual, the Great Rockies Sports Show is going to happen at Metra Park in Billings. You can find out more about that one at greatrockyshow.com. That same weekend, January 20th through the 22nd, is the Tri-City Sportsman Show. This is actually one of my favorites. It's a good-sized show, but not overwhelming. It takes place at the track in Pasco. They've got a new attraction called a Walk on the Wild Side. And as usual, lots of stuff for the kids. There's also a 3D archery range. Bring your own bow and try this multi-target 3D shoot. And an outdoor cooking camp with one of my favorite outdoors cooks, C-Dub Welch. And he is sponsored by one of our sponsors, Camp Chef. Just a few days after that, January 25th through the 29th, is the Washington Sportsman Show and Sport Fishing Boat Show taking place at the State Fairgrounds in Puyallup. This is a huge show. There's 150 hours of seminars being offered covering fishing, hunting, outdoors cooking, and more, as well as an indoor steelhead river. We'll be at this one, and be sure to stop by our booth for a chance to win a $100 gift certificate from Max Lure Company and a Striker backcountry camp stove from Camp Chef. Turning our attention to this week on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we are in our final month of waterfowl hunting, and it's a lot different now than it was hunting this fall. If you want some advice on bagging more ducks and geese in the dead of the winter, we've got just the person for you. His name is Kent Contreras. He's a pro staffer with Avery Outdoors, and he's got some great tips for you. Bob Loomis will be gracing us with his presence for another extended Max Minute this week, and then we'll talk to Anton Jones. He's the owner of Daryl and Dad's Guide Service about some great winter trout fisheries going off right now in north central Washington. We've got outdoors news about elk, eagles, and steelhead fishing, and then we'll chat with Mike Howe with Able Guide Service. He offers guided ice fishing in northwest Montana, and he's also organizing the Perch Assault Ice Fishing Derbies this winter. Several of them are in Montana, but the other one, a new one, is at Cascade Lake, Idaho, where those in the know believe the next state record perch is going to be caught, and Mike thinks one of his anglers during his tournament might be the one that does it. But before we bundle up and venture out into this winter fun, I've got to ask, have you ever gone rabbit hunting? It's not something most of us do here in the Northwest, but it's a wintertime option, and you'll find out more about it in this week's edition of Sportsman Spotlight with Matt Rice. Sportsman Spotlight is sponsored by Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing, offering affordable, all-inclusive saltwater fishing vacations for salmon, halibut, lingcod, and more out of Port Hardy, BC. Find out more at coastwidesportsfishing.com.
This is Sportsman Spotlight with Matt and Tom.
Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting rabbits.
Winter bunnies, bon appetit. Rabbit hunting is the third most popular type of hunting activity in the U.S. behind wild turkey and deer, but few people take advantage of rabbit hunting in the West. Maybe it's because they're cute, fuzzy, and always play a role in Disney movies. Rabbit happens to be tasty, nutritious, relatively easy to hunt, and even easier to clean and cook. Given all that, right now during the winter is the best time to pursue them. If you've never cooked rabbit, it's easy. Just prepare them the same way you do chicken. You can marinate them, you can just bread them and fry them like you would chicken. It's a different taste, but it's extremely good taste. It has flavor, and it's not gamey. One thing to keep in mind is rabbit fever. Not real common in the West, but it's always good to inspect the liver while cleaning and look for any white spots. If there's any question in mind, put the rabbit in a bag, wash your hands, and contact your local fish and game department. When stomping brush for cottontails and hair in thick cover, use a shotgun with approved cylinder and numbers 6 to 7.5 shot. Oftentimes rabbits jumped in thick cover usually are close and moving fast. A wide shot pattern makes it easier to hit the rabbit with less excessive damage to the meat. The trick is to spot the rabbit before it spots you. Considering the rabbit's superb camouflage can be tough. One tip is to look for their eyes instead of their whole bodies. To get the most out of your next rabbit hunt, take a kid with you, a son, daughter, niece, nephew, grandchild, or maybe even the neighborhood kid.
You've just heard Sportsman Spotlight with Matt Rice. For more information, visit us online at sportsmanspotlight.com.
A quality and affordable fishing adventure is waiting for you off Vancouver Island with Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing. Located in Port Hardy, British Columbia, you can drive or fly to your all-inclusive guided fishing vacation. Whether you're after big salmon, heart-fighting halibut, or a cooler full of red snapper and lingcod, you can catch it all here. Better yet, your lodging, meals, and fish processing are all taken care of. Want one more reason to go? The price. With the Canadian dollar exchange rate where it is right now, your U.S. dollar goes further. Space is limited, so go to coastwidesportsfishing.com to book your trip. That's coastwidesportsfishing.com for an incredible BC fishing adventure.
Leupold has been building optics in Oregon since 1907, and Leupold binoculars bring excellent optical performance and modern styling to the serious outdoorsman. Whether you're a boater, birder, backpacker, or hunter, Leupold's state-of-the-art binocular lines are sure to fit your needs. Visit Leupold.com or your local Cabela's, Bi-Mart, or Sportsman's Warehouse to see the full line of Leupold optics.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. It is January, and believe it or not, this is a very good time of year to go duck hunting and goose hunting, but only if you know what you're doing, because a lot of those ponds are frozen right now, but rivers are open and fields are attracting waterfowl. And with us here to give you some tips on how to bag more ducks and geese before the season ends is Kent Contreras. He is a pro staffer with Avery Outdoors. Kent, great to have you back on the show.
Thanks, John. Glad to be here.
So, again, it's January. A lot of folks here in the Northwest are out there hunting, but a lot of the places that they hunted in the fall are frozen over. How do folks go about finding ducks and geese?
Well, you're right. This is a great time of year to be waterfowl hunting. And like you mentioned, everything's frozen up, so the birds are concentrating out on the open waters of the rivers and large lakes. And so what we do up here is that we spend a lot of time scouting. You just can't go out blindly in the early morning and expect to be on the birds all day. You got to spend some time out scouting, find where they're locating. Some of the best places that we find this time of year is where a spring or a seep is alongside of a riverbank. Islands, the shorelines of islands are always good spots. They feel safe out there with the water around them. So those are some of the tips that we do. We spend a lot of time scouting, look for those springs or the seeps alongside the shorelines. The birds will have a tendency to concentrate in those areas. And again, you got to be careful this time of year. There are ice flows. There are the boat ramps are frozen over. You're going to spend a lot of time watching out for that type of condition.
Absolutely. And let's talk about what I call the fallacy of first light hunting. When it comes to January, you don't have to be out there at first light because those birds, they're going to be feeding maybe once, twice a day, and hunting can be good all day, can't it?
It is good all day. And the birds, because of the cold weather, you'll see them, they'll have a tendency to stay put a little bit longer. They won't fly as early as they normally do in the early part of the season. Afternoons, just about the time you're ready to give it up, all of a sudden the birds lift off and you're seeing a lot of activity. So you stick it out. You're going to get birds in there all times of the day. We do have a lot of geese that come down into our part of the state, and they like to loaf until mid-afternoon, and then they'll get up and exercise and move around and fly around, and it's quite a sight because you'll be sitting there all day long and nothing's moving, and then all of a sudden you just start getting a lot of activity from the birds in the area.
Absolutely. So, folks, Kent, he lives in Northeast Washington, but the tips he's giving you, they really apply anywhere here in the Northwest where you plan on going duck or goose hunting. So, number one, do some scouting the day before if you can. Get those binos out, go on the roads, and find out where those birds are at. And number two, don't think that it's just a morning shoot and you're done, because those birds are going to be moving sometimes all day long or much later than you would think. What else do people need to know to have success this time of year, Kent?
Well, this time of year, if you observe the birds in your area, at least in our area, this is what we see. Large flocks, large rafts of birds on the water. Anything that is along a shoreline will be a loafing, a resting, or a sleeping type of bird. And so this time of year, what I like to do is I will throw out 3 to 4 dozen goose decoys, full body or shells that are resters and sleepers, shorelines or on ice shelves near your blind. And then I'll put a dozen floater geese about 25 yards on either side of the blind setup, and then a raft of duck decoys on the downwind side of our spread. And if you look at the birds and watch them, they're concentrating, but they're resting, they're sleeping, they're saving their energy up. And I guarantee you, if you start throwing out a different spread like that, where you're using a lot of sleepers and a lot of resters, it'll add more realism to what the birds are doing themselves. I don't use a lot of sentries this time of year, probably 1 per dozen, just to mimic that those birds are resting and they've got one bird as a sentry to watch out for them.
I like it. So here's another question for you. For folks that are hunting, we'll say, the Missouri River, the Snake River, the Columbia River, where you're getting not just mallards and geese and widgeon, but you're getting a lot of divers. Do you do anything special when it comes to decoys for the scaup, for the goldeneye, for the bufflehead?
That was the part of that where I said you put your duck spread on the downwind side. That's where we use everything we've got. I mean, we're talking as much color, as much diversity as you can put out there. The mallards will come in, if there's a few left in the area, they'll come into those geese decoys just as well as they'll come into diver spread. Believe it or not, around here they'll look for those big rafts of birds, and they'll try to fly off to the side, but they will make it in. So we use a lot of the bufflehead, the goldeneye, redhead, bluebills, ringnecks. We've got the whole spread, and we'll throw everything we've got at them to make a large raft of duck decoys off to the side of our goose spread. And they will come in. They may not be in a large number, but you'll get those singles, those doubles, and just birds flying by. They'll come in and check it out.
Here's another question for you, Kent. What type of shot do you use, and does it change from the beginning of the season to the end of the season now that those ducks and geese have got a lot of fat on them and a lot more feathers?
I use a number 2 basically all season long. A 3-inch number 2 is what I keep with me at all times. Now, at the end of the season, our geese are so fat and they've got so many feathers and they're bulking up for the winter. Is at that point in time, I start to change over to a BB load for the geese. Sure. I don't like using the number 2s when they have that much protection on them, so I bump it up to a BB or a B and use those for the geese. But the ducks, I will shoot a number 2 at ducks all year long.
All right. Last but not least, Avery Outdoors. Tell our listeners some of the things they're going to find that Avery provides for the waterfowler.
We have a great line of products, everything from the green headgear decoys to the Avery sporting dog products, everything you need to train your dog, to protect your dog. We have vests, dog blinds, pads, foot protection, bumpers, everything in a sporting dog line. We have it for you. As the Avery products go, we have a clothing line, fleece products. We have the finisher blinds and your other layout blinds. Every product you can need for waterfowl hunting, we basically have it out there for you. And the exciting thing, John, is that we have come into working with banded products. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure everyone's familiar with the banded lineup, but Avery Outdoors and Banded are now together as a working group, and our products are, top of the line, ready for that person that's going to be out hunting. from 1 day to 100 days a season. You'll find what you need.
Well, there you go, folks. Avery Outdoors is the company or the business to check out if you're a waterfowl hunter, and I hope you got some great tips and advice from Kent Contreras here. Kent, thanks so much for sharing this on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
You bet, John. Glad to be here.
At Loophole Optics, they guarantee performance. Those other optics companies, they just warranty failure. That's why every Loophole product has a lifetime guarantee. Think of it as a warranty you'll never need to cash in on. Find out more at loophole.com.
2017 is here, and that means it's time to go to the biggest and the best sportsman shows in the Northwest. Brought to you by O'Laughlin Trade Shows. Things kick off with the Washington Sportsman Show from January 25th through the 29th at the State Fairgrounds in Puyallup. Following that is one of the biggest shows in the country, the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show, taking place at the Expo Center in Portland from February 8th through the 12th. And don't forget the Central Oregon Sportsman Show, March 2nd through the 5th at the Deschutes County Fairgrounds in Redmond. Check out seminar schedules, special attractions, and discounts at otshows.com. That's otshows.com for the biggest and best sportsman shows in the Northwest.
Wetlands are some of the most important ecosystems on Earth, but our wetlands are quickly disappearing. Find out how you can help. Join Ducks Unlimited today.
You're back with more of the great outdoors on Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
Happy New Year. It's time for the first Max Minute of 2017. And with us this week is Bobby Loomis with Max Lure Company. And it being winter, we thought we'd talk ice fishing. Bobby, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, John.
Bobby, what are a few of your favorite ice fishing destinations?
Ice fishing destinations, you've got a tremendous amount over here in eastern Washington. You've got Fish Lake that's real close, and you start getting over into the Spokane area, Idaho, that panhandle area. You've got Hayden Lake, you've got a number of lakes right there close to the Spokane area, which are tremendous ice fishing lakes.
So Max Lure Company has had a great ice fishing lure for a long time, but it kind of flies under the radar. Why don't you tell our listeners about it?
We have glow hooks. It's actually one of the first products that Max Lure, besides the wedding ring, that they've had for now going on 45 years. The original products were a bait-style hook or a worm hook, which is a longer shanked hook designed to fish bait with it through the ice. And it's not only a tremendous ice fishing tool, but it works fantastic in a number of different applications, whether you're trolling, casting, etc.
But it's more than just a hook. I mean, it's got some plastic in different colors, and some of them are even UV charged.
Well, they're a glow hook. So they have it's not like most glow hooks where glow hooks originally were done with lead and then painted on the outside. This is a plastic material which is ultra lightweight. Like I said, it was designed for fishing with live bait originally, so it's ultra lightweight and doesn't weight down the bait fish originally that were being used for bait.
So it is the glow hook. If you're going to be fishing bait under the ice, this is the lure for you. Look for it at a sporting goods store near you or at maxlure.com. Walleye anglers all over the Northwest are raving about the new Smile Blade Spindrift Walleye Lure made by Max Lure Company. Lance Mers is with us here to tell us more about it.
This lure is fantastic. We've got the patented Smile Blade. We've got a pill float that keeps it just off of the bottom where the fish like to bite. And that Spindrift hook is absolutely phenomenal. You can tip it with any kind of bait.
Tip it with a crawler, tip it with a leech, whatever you tip it with, it's going to catch more fish. It's the Smile Blade Spindrift Walleye Lure, only from Max Lure Company.
A quality and affordable fishing adventure is waiting for you off Vancouver Island with Chad's Coast-Wide Sports Fishing. Located in Port Hardy, British Columbia, you can drive or fly to your all-inclusive guided fishing vacation. Whether you're after big salmon, heart-fighting halibut, or a cooler full of red snapper and lingcod, you can catch it all here. Better yet, your lodging, meals, and fish processing are all taken care of. Want one more reason to go? The price. With the Canadian dollar exchange rate where it is right now, your U.S. dollar goes further. Space is limited, so go to coastwidesportsfishing.com to book your trip. That's coastwidesportsfishing.com for an incredible BC fishing adventure.
The two-burner camp stove has evolved.
And today's line of portable camp stoves from Camp Chef have come a long way from your father's propane stove, featuring matchless ignition, more cooking power, and in some cases a built-in grill or extra burner. And you've got what you need to whip up some great grub in the field. Look for the complete line of Mountain Series stoves at your local sporting goods store. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
You can fish from a boat, or you can stand on shore, or you can use a pontoon with carpet on the floor. You can sit upon a dock or wade out to a big old rock.
We are talking with Anton Jones. He is the owner of Daryl and Dad's Guide Service. And we're about fishing in central Washington during the winter months, because there's some great fishing to be had there. Anton, welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
So, Anton, Lake Chelan is your bread and butter lake. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about this amazing lake and the fish that are found in it?
Well, as you know, we primarily do deep water trolling for lake trout, and we do that all year round. Winter's prime time for big fish, but we also still do great with numbers, averaging, usually 2 fish an hour or so. But the thing that's come on in the last 5 years has been the winter kokanee fishing, and that's just been a rapid development over the last 5 years. This year, our guide, Jeff Witkowski, found them in November and has stayed on them ever since. So this year, they're mostly 12 to 14-inch fish, but over the last 5 years, we've seen pods of them that will be 16, 18 inches, and some that even get pretty close to that 19-inch mark, which is a really nice-sized kokanee.
That's a really nice-sized kokanee. And, folks, if you've never eaten kokanee before, you are missing out. They are basically landlocked sockeye salmon, some of the best eating fish you're going to find, and it's very unusual to catch them in the winter. I mean, most people,
normally we for decades, Chelan was thought of as a spring kokanee fishery, with them turning on all the way through until the end of May. Then you'd move up around the Narrows, fish them in June, and they'd be gone by the 4th of July. But lately, the pattern has changed, and it's been a matter of just finding these pods of bigger fish and staying on them. And Jeff, like I said, he found them in November, and it's been good ever since. So we're grateful for that. The other part of the winter fishery that's interesting, going after these suspended groups of kokanee, is that we've got some interesting side catches. Been a fair number of cutthroat, which you got to remember on Chelan that to keep them they have to be fin clipped. And also that mythical creature, the Chelan landlocked Chinook salmon. And remember, those have to be 15 inches to keep.
Well, those used to be a lot more common than they are now. But let's turn our attention to lake trout, because when it comes to Mackinac, Lake Chelan really kicks out some big fish this time of year. Up to, 30 pounds?
Yeah, the record was set in February a few years ago at 35.10. And there are a few 30-pounders. Anything over 10 pounds, I think, is pretty big fish, and anything over 20 is a trophy.
And Lake Chelan, it's a very deep lake, and when it comes to the Mackinac, you're trolling right off the bottom. How deep are you trolling for these Mackinac?
Well, traditionally, as we move past the midwinter mark, we'll move out of the lower basin, where the maximum that we're trolling is about 250 feet, and then we'll move up to what we started to call Collier Ledge, which is that area right up above the Narrows, and we will troll out to almost, and sometimes even a little over 400 feet deep.
Wow. And Collier Ledge is named after Phil Collier. He's actually a local jeweler who lives in Wenatchee, Washington. He's the man who caught that record Mackinac 35-pounder in February of 2013. Let's turn our attention to some of the other fisheries that you'll find in central Washington in the winter. Rufus Woods Reservoir. Tell our listeners about that.
Yeah, people will come from all over the country to fish for those triploid rainbows in Rufus. Kind of the halcyon days, I think, were more 04 through 07, but there are still lots of triploid rainbows to be caught, particularly near the upper net pen area. And I think we'll start seeing those really big fish again. I think you recall the state record rainbow was a triploid caught out of Rufus of over 29 pounds. So it's an awesome fishery and another incredible eating fish. They really grill up nicely.
And Rufus Woods, folks, if you're not familiar with it, it's basically an impoundment of the Columbia River in Washington State. The net pens are basically operated by the Colville tribe, and they have these triploid trout that grow to amazing sizes. How do you go about catching them in the winter?
Well, The simplest way would be to go to that jointly administered site up near the upper pens and fish like you would in your local put and take lake, using a floating dough bait and working about a 30-inch leader and getting it out there. Remember, though, that you cannot high grade any trout that you catch bait fishing in Washington counts against your limit, and at Rufus it's a 2-fish limit. A little more, if you've got a boat and you're willing to work it whenever it's good, there are a number of ways to catch those fish. We like trolling flies near the surface, use like a 1/4 ounce weight and troll around 2 miles an hour. And if they're biting, they'll do really well. Our guide, Jeff Witkowski, has worked a micro jig presentation, and that way he gets to catch and release a number of them. Remember, you're supposed to pinch your barbs if you're going to catch and release on Rufus, and that'll work. But it's just an all-around great fishery with that trophy potential.
And one more fishery we should talk about, we're talking about Rufus Woods Reservoir, is walleye. So, I mean, you can catch your trout, then you go walleye fishing too, can't you?
Yes. As you know, the whole Columbia is famous not so much for being a walleye factory in terms of numbers, but for the potential for big fish. Whenever I'm reading and talking to people that are big-time walleye fishermen, they always talk about the potential for a new world record coming out of somewhere in that Columbia system. And Rufus is a very, very rich part of the Columbia, so it's a possibility, and it's an underutilized resource there.
It really is, because most people, when they're heading up there, they are focused on the trout, and most people, when they're focused on walleye, they tend to head downstream towards the mid-Columbia, around the Tri-Cities or Umatilla. What's the biggest walleye you've seen out of Rufus Woods Reservoir in the upper Columbia?
I think the biggest one that I've personally seen was a little bit over 14 pounds, about 14.6.
That is a really, really big walleye. So if people want to book a trip with you to either fish Lake Chelan for lake trout or kokanee, or maybe go to Rufus Woods Reservoir for walleye and big triploid rainbows, what's the phone number? What's the website?
Our phone number is 509-687-0709, and the website is DarylAndDads.com, all run together. Daryl spelled with 2 R's and 2 L's.
So, folks, if you want to go fishing on Lake Chelan, give Anton Jones a call at 509-687-0709 or go to his website, DarylAndDads.com. He's not guiding a Rufus Woods Reservoir anymore, but if you just want to call and get some information, he'll be happy to share it with you. Both of these are great winter fisheries in Central Washington. Beautiful country. You'll absolutely love it. Again, 509-687-0709 or DarylAndDads.com. Thanks a lot, Anton. Stick around, folks. We're going to fade out here of this segment with some John Kurkowski. He's a great artist who puts together some fun fishing songs. And when we come back, we're going to lead in with a funny little parody song from that Midwestern group called Shad Rap. And I think when you hear the song, you're going to know what's coming up next in terms of our topic. We'll be back in a flash on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
All fish, Maple Lake, French Lake, Granite Lake, Cedar Lake, Pleasant Lake, Clear Lake, Bass Lake, Otter Lake, Goose Lake, Gull Lake, Round Lake, Pearl Lake, Rice Lake, Sugar Lake, Mud Lake, Long Lake, Ant Lake, Swan Lake, and Lake of the Woods. Oh, I fish everywhere.
It's show season, and Schuler Productions has 3 great ones taking place in Central Washington. Be sure to attend the Tri-City Sportsman Show, January 20th through the 22nd at the Track in Pasco. The Central Washington Sportsman Show takes place February 17th through the 19th at the Sundome in Yakima. And be sure to stop by the Northwestern Outdoors radio booth at the Wenatchee Sportsman Show at the Town Toyota Center for a chance to win some great prizes. You'll find great exhibitors, seminars, and activities for the kids at all 3 shows, along with special attractions you won't want to miss. Find out more at SchulerProductions.com.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after, whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
2017 is here, and that means it's time to go to the biggest and the best sportsman shows in the Northwest. Brought to you by O'Laughlin Trade Shows. Things kick off with the Washington Sportsman Show from January 25th through the 29th at the State Fairgrounds in Puyallup. Following that is one of the biggest shows in the country, the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show, taking place at the Expo Center in Portland from February 8th through the 12th. And don't forget the Central Oregon Sportsman Show, March 2nd through the 5th at the Deschutes County Fairgrounds in Redmond. Check out seminar schedules, special attractions, and discounts at otshows.com. That's otshows.com for the biggest and best sportsman shows in the Northwest.
Hey guys, stop. Grab your bait and listen. Ice is on the lake, so we're going fishing. With me is my best friend Mike. We're hitting Lake Boygan for the trophy fight. Will I catch a perch? Hey, I guess so.
You're back with Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. Do you like eagles? I mean, who doesn't, right? January is National Bald Eagle Watch Month, and the National Wildlife Federation has compiled a list of the 10 best places in the nation to see eagles this month. It turns out 3 of them are right here in the Northwest. The number 5 place in the nation to see bald eagles is Wolf Lodge Bay within Lake Coeur d'Alene in northern Idaho. It's frequented by dozens of migratory bald eagles when the kokanee salmon start to spawn there. The eagles begin arriving in November, and the largest concentrations generally occur, well, right now. You can actually go on tours at certain times of the year from Coeur d'Alene to see the eagles by boat, but there's land-placed bases as well to see them. The number 2 place in the nation to see eagles is in Northwest Washington. It's the Upper Skagit River watershed along Highway 20. It draws hundreds of eagles to tens of thousands of dead and dying salmon at the end of the spawning season. Eagle numbers peak in late December and early January. You can actually go to some of the state parks there and byways and get a great view of the eagles from shore, or you can book trips on drift boats and rafts and see them up close from the water. One website to go to is SkagitEagle.org. And the number 1 place in the entire nation to see bald eagles is the Klamath Basin on the California-Oregon border. It holds the largest concentration of wintering bald eagles in the lower 48. As many as 1,000 eagles occupy the Klamath Refuge Complex during the peak months of January and February. Many of the birds are visible from the lower Klamath and Tule Lake auto tours you can do at the refuges. Call the Klamath Basin National Wildlife Refuge or go online to find out more about watching eagles along the border here. Our next story comes from Rich Landers, the Spokesman Review, where we unfortunately learn dozens of wintering elk are dead after the herd fell through the ice on a Snake River reservoir in eastern Oregon. The Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife said in a Facebook post recently that 41 elk died on the Powder River arm of Brownlee Reservoir about 50 miles east of Baker City. Someone who lives near the reservoir called to report the incident. Fish and wildlife biologist Brian Ratliff told the Baker City Herald the elk were trying to cross the reservoir from the north side when the ice broke in 4 places. Officials drove to the area to see if it was possible to save any of the elk or salvage meat, but Ratliff said neither option was possible. Sad story there. We've got better news from Idaho, where we've got a steelhead fishing report from the Clearwater River, where Idaho Fish and Game reports checking only 19 hardy anglers who braved the cold Christmas week, but they were rewarded, averaging just over a fish each, not only on the main portion of the Clearwater to Orofino Bridge, but also on the North Fork upstream to Dvorak Dam. Next up on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, bundle up, folks. It is ice fishing season. Not only is it ice fishing season, there's actually ice fishing derbies that take place here in the Northwest. In Montana, they've been going on for some time, and they're going to be taking place in Idaho as well. It's called the Perch Assault Ice Fishing Derby Series. With us here to tell us more about it is Mike Howe. He is heavily involved with this, and he's also the owner of A. Able Fishing Charters. Yeah, he'll take you ice fishing for a price. Mike, welcome back to the show.
Well, thanks, John. It's great to be back with you again. How are things?
You know, things are going really good. Where have you been fishing through the ice these last few weeks?
Well, the last few weeks, we have been right here at home in northwest Montana, Flathead Valley area. We have had some good ice form recently. We started putting ice on around the third week of December. So here we are at the first of the year, and things are looking really good everywhere.
Well, you've got several derbies coming up. In fact, the first one's going on this weekend, January 7th. Tell our listeners about the Perch Assault Series and where these derbies are taking place.
You bet, John. We started this series back in 2006, and it was designed to be a very competitive ice fishing series. 2-person teams, multiple lakes, a championship at the end. It's been very, very popular. We average about 62 or 63 teams at each of our events. So this year, as you mentioned, January 7th is our first event, kicking off up at Lower Stillwater Lake in Olney, Montana, and then we follow that up February 4th at Lake Mary Ronan down near Flathead Lake, and then our final event in Montana for the 3-event series will be March 4th out at Smith Lake, just west of Kalispell. That'll be our final event. So 3 events, each pays separate money at each day, and then a top 3 overall champion at the end of the year. So that's our Montana series.
So here's a question for you. It's called the Perch Assault. So I presume that perch is the target in all 3 of those derbies or all the 3 of those tournaments?
That's correct. And what we do, John, is we pay the top 10 best perch per team by weight. And so typically 65 teams or so, that upper top 10 is usually pretty close. A lot of times less than a pound separating them. So we pay the top 10 teams for their best 10 perch, and then we do a championship bonus at the end. So it's very competitive. Yellow perch is the gold. There's usually a side pot for the biggest perch of the day as well. Very competitive. You know, folks say, oh, anybody can catch perch, but catching tournament-winning perch on tournament day is pretty much like any other tournament out there.
I love it. And as much as I love what you're doing up in Montana there, I'm really excited about what you're doing at Cascade Lake in Idaho. There's going to be a perch assault tournament there as well. And I have been hearing nonstop from Idaho Fish and Game that they are absolutely convinced a state record is going to come out of there this year.
Yeah, absolutely, John. You know, it's been broken several times over the last few years. You know, going back just a couple years ago, it was around 2 pounds, 11 ounces. I believe we are 4/100ths of a pound from the 3-pound mark with the record as it stands today. So everyone full expects that a new state record will come out of Cascade Lake this winter. The real question is how many? We're very excited about going down there. We're working closely with the Cascade Chamber of Commerce. We have the Idaho Wildlife Federation on board with us. Southwest Idaho Fishing is a big group down there. We really wanted to give the entire community an opportunity to get involved with this, you know, make it a festival, make it a community event, because we are celebrating an uncommonly good perch fishery in a beautiful part of the country with a town that is welcoming anglers with open arms. So it's just a win-win-win for everybody, and I'm really looking forward to it, John. It's going to be February 11th and 12th. It's a 2-day event. We're going to pay the top 10 both days, and then we'll have an overall bonus. We've got an overall bonus plan for whoever ends up with the record at the end of the weekend, because I do believe it'll fall more than once. So really excited about the event. Looking forward to it coming up here in about 6 weeks. Anybody wants more info on that, John, at just perchassault.com, www.perchassault.com. Everything, all the info's there, all the entries are there. They can do online registration, pay via PayPal. They can print out an entry, mail it in, or if they're right there in Cascade, they can print it out, fill it out, and leave it right there with Tackle Tom.
Well, there you go, folks. Again, perchassault.com. That's the website to go to find out about participating in these tournaments that are taking place in Montana and at Cascade Lake, Idaho this winter. And if you want to go fishing with Mike, just go to his website. It's aablefishing.com. That's aablefishing.com. He'll show you a real good time on the ice and get you to a bunch of fish. Mike, thanks so much for telling us all about this on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
You bet, John. Everybody have a happy new year and be safe, and we'll see you on the ice.
But that ain't enough, so I chew on 3 pair of heavy-duty flannel thermal underwear. Drilling, the ice is half a foot thick. My gas-powered ice auger ought to do the trick. If I want to eat crab, I gotta catch dinner. Drop my line in the hole with the minnow and the spinner. Ice fish, baby.
This is the time of year to get out and cook out. So make your next meal sizzle with Camp Chef, the brand known for quality outdoor cooking equipment. To eat like a king on your next adventure, go to campchef.com or visit your local sporting goods store and get cooking. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
At Loophole Optics, they guarantee performance. Those other optics companies, they just warranty failure. That's why every Loophole product has a lifetime guarantee. Think of it as a warranty you'll never need to cash in on. Find out more at loophole.com.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
One more time this week for Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
We've got some upcoming events to tell you about, and one of them is taking place in Wenatchee, where we lost a real gem. There's a memorial service or a celebration of life for Peter Floor, which the North Central Washington Coastal Conservation Association group is putting on at the Eagles on Wenatchee Avenue, Saturday the 14th from 2 to 6 p.m. Everyone's welcome to attend. Peter, if you didn't know him, just a great guy, full of life, always optimistic. He was a real champion for salmon fisheries and salmon conservation, helped put together salmon derbies as well. Just a class act that we lost way too soon because of a car accident in Oregon. So again, that's January 14th, 2 to 6 p.m. at the Eagles in Wenatchee. I hope to see you there for a celebration of life for Peter Floor. Speaking of the NCWCCA chapter, they have a meeting taking place on the 17th at 6 p.m. also at the Eagles. The guest speaker is going to be State Fish and Wildlife Commissioner Dave Graybill, also known as the Fishing Magician. He'll be talking about the commission and what it's doing for us as fishermen. Promises to be an interesting meeting. Again, anyone's welcome to attend January 17th, 6 p.m. at the Eagles in Wenatchee. Sticking with Washington State, free park entry days, January 15th through the 16th in honor of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. That means a Discover Pass is not required to visit a state park for a day visit, but you still need one if you're going to be visiting state fish and wildlife lands or Department of Natural Resource lands. But if you want to go to the state parks, it's free, January 15th and 16th in the state of Washington. Want to go birding on the Oregon coast? I got a great one for you here. It's taking place on the 13th from 9 a.m. to 10:30 at Sunset Beach State Recreation Site. You can join a park ranger for a Fort to Sea Trail bird walk. It's a 2-mile long hike through the woods and to the beach. Bring some binoculars with you. If you don't have any and you don't have any experience, that's okay. They'll have a few available for you there too. Promises to be a fun hike and a fun time. And Idaho Parks and Rec is hosting several avalanche awareness and companion rescue clinics this month, to include clinics in Boise the 13th and 14th, in Idaho Falls January 20th and the 21st, and in Coeur d'Alene the 27th and 28th. These clinics are in the classroom for the first day and then out in the snow on the second day. Pre-registration is required. Go to the Idaho State Parks website and to the events page to find out more. And in Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park, there are some ranger-guided snowshoe walks you can go on. They take place with a naturalist who will guide you from the Taggart Lake Trailhead. They occur Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You will want to make reservations in advance, and snowshoes are available for a rental fee of just $5 for adults and $2 for children ages 8 and older. Again, ranger-guided snowshoe walks from the Taggart Lake Trailhead in Grand Teton National Park. Sounds like it would be a lot of fun. And now it's time for your trivia question of the week. In the continental United States, you can't go any further northwest than this place. And this is on the contiguous. We're not talking islands here. Once you get here, you'll find not only the Pacific Ocean and the Strait of Juan de Fuca, but also some great hiking in a scenic rainforest. Do you know where this place is? Again, it's the northwestmost place you can drive to, or I should say drive and hike to, in the United States. If you do know where this place is, go to our Facebook page and let us know on the post there. Make sure you like our page while we're at it, or you can contact us through our website at northwesternoutdoors.com. The Facebook page is Northwestern Outdoors Radio. The website, northwesternoutdoors.com. Someone who guesses right is going to win the $25 gift card we give away every week from Sportsman's Warehouse. And by the way, this being January, they've got some pretty good specials going on at Sportsman's Warehouse. Check them out online or go to your local store to find out more. While you're on the web, I hope you'll check out our companion show website, AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. You can listen to podcasts of our show there. You can also find out if it's airing near a station near you. This show is really growing. We're actually going to be up to 34 stations by the end of this month that are broadcasting in 9 states. That's America Outdoors Radio. Another place you can hear that show and this show online is at WRVO Radio. The website for that one is RenoViolaOutdoors.com. It's an internet station that specializes in outdoors programming. We're proud to be part of it. That's all for this week. It's a brand new year. I hope you are resolving to get out and do more fishing, more hunting, more hiking, more camping, and having fun outside in the year ahead. Until next time, take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.